Hello, welcome back to the channel. So this is kind of part 2 in my vlog, if that's the right word, about painting up some forces for sharp practice. So a bit of background, especially if you've not seen the other one, the other video. So the other video is focusing on the Union. This is focusing on the Confederates. So if you've been following the channel, you'll know I'm a big fan of American Civil War history. And I've done a lot of American Civil War gaming in the past. Specifically, this last kind of 2 years, a lot of epic battles, American Civil War. And I've just about finished my projects there, as much as any wargaming project can be finished. So I just wanted to do something a bit different and paint something a bit bigger and maybe kind of enjoy painting some uniforms, but still in the American Civil War. I mean, I'm painting loads of stuff all the time. What I didn't need was another project. What I didn't need was another big project. So actually, Sharp Practice Forces, as you can see in front of us, is quite a manageable project. I believe it's a manageable force. So, about 5 months ago, I think I talked about on the video, I picked up the Perry Miniatures Battlefield in a Box, which gives you more than enough figures for 2 Sharp Practice Forces, plus extras, plus a bit of terrain. So this force isn't as far forward painting as my Union force, but actually once I get going, this will be a very quick paint job, as I've discovered with the skirmishes, which I'll talk about my methodology a bit later on. So Sharp Practice, so it's kind of like a skirmishy set of rules. Each element, sort of 6 skirmishers or 8 troops, is a fighting element in the game. I've liked what I've seen from it. I've not actually played any games yet, but you know what? Even if I didn't like Sharp Practice, this, you know, looking at Rebels or Patriots or other game systems kind of builds up for force. Even, and I'll be talking about this in another video, you know, using black powder, but maybe 8 models on a base representing a unit in black powder. Doesn't matter for black powder. So what I've done to begin with is pick a fairly simple Confederate colour scheme. So from the sort of uniform guide in the box, I picked the Louisiana Boys, which is your standard greys throughout. And the main regiment is going to be painted in that colour scheme. Now, I know there's a bit of a debate going on about how ragged or how uniform were Confederate forces during the war. Now, I lean on the fact that, yes, they'd have been given full uniforms, but as campaigning went on, it would be harder to get replacement pieces of kit. So a lot of regiments would look relatively uniform in so much as a fighting force on campaign looks uniform. But as the campaign goes on, you're going to lose hats, get new hats, you know, pick up a different blanket role here or there. You know, your trousers might get ripped, so you get yourself a new pair of trousers. So I'm going to have a relatively uniform painted unit in the middle, and these guys will be a slightly more raggedy feel to them. And you know what? What I've said, the same would be true of the Union as well. I talk about hats. You know, if you're out campaigning and you're living in the field, I wear a hat all the time. Hats are invaluable for keeping the sun off your face, rain off your face, keeping your head warm. You know what? There's a reason why every soldier hats are part of their headgear. But anyway, I'm meandering there. So what we have is basically 4 sort of groups, if you will, made up of different size elements. One in the middle, which is kind of more marching poses. And what I like about the Confederate sprues done by Perry's is they're a bit more animated than the first sprues that came out. So marching, I'll be doing just one standard, one flag for each regiment. I'm doing 2 for the Union. Sort of a more aggressive, forward-moving force there. Leaders, each one will have a sort of a leader on a horse. And skirmishers, including like a NCO figure as well, level 1 leader for the skirmishers. These skirmishers are basically based around the first generation plastic bodies. The Battlefield box gives us extra, including artillery and cavalry. Certainly I'll be doing up some Union artillery, probably do some Confederate cavalry, see how the project goes on. Definitely a Union gun, a Confederate gun as well. So it might end up with a couple of Union guns, one Confederate gun and some cavalry. Okay, so let's talk about painting. I really enjoyed painting these guys, and you can see the methodology I've used in the painting here. So let's pick up some of these guys, look at it in detail. So because they're going to be predominantly grey, I've used Mechanica Standard Grey as an undercoat from Games Workshop. So as you can see here, I've just splodged on the colours. It's not even particularly neat in places, but that's okay. So Mechanica Standard Grey, I've done a Montfang Brown gun barrel, picked out silver on it. Then I've done all the sort of webbing and straps, and in this case the hat in Black Legion or Black Templar. This looks a bit more like Black Templar than Black Legion. It just depends what I picked up. I've gone for this is like a greeny bone colour, iron rack skin, just a bit different for the canteens. Black on the shoes, bit of Steel Legion drab for the hair, and you'll see as well I have put Wraithbone on the flesh colours as well. So quite a simple one. I've also just put PVA glue and sand on the bases. If you want to know more about the sand and where it comes from, there's an interesting story behind the sand, check out the Union video. So once I've got all my base colours on, and with this guy here, I've painted like a light brown for the hat. I've also done this bag in like a Raka flesh colour as well, just a bit different. I've done an Agrax shade top to toe, and as you can see the difference side by side, it's added a lot of shade and depth to the model. When I put the Agrax on, I've tried to avoid the Wraithbone on the hands, but I've not worried if it's gone on. So once I've got my fully shaded model, what I'm going to do is go back with the base colours, and I'm going to paint, leaving the shadow in the recess, paint back over top. So obviously Mechanica Standard Grey up on here, round on here. For blanket rolls, you know, painting on the raised bits, leaving the recesses. Muskets I've kind of just left as is. With the black, I've taken like an Eshin grey, which is like a dark grey, and just painted it just a wee bit on the edges, wee bit on here just to bring it back out again. This could maybe do with a wee bit of touch up now I'm looking at it. And then the flesh tones, I've put Gulliman flesh on, and once that's dried, just a tiny bit of Kislev flesh just on the raised bits, leaving that shadow in the recess. Actually a really quick, really effective paint job. Actually what I'm probably going to do is go back with the eyes, a bit of Eshin grey, a couple of dots of, I don't use bright white, I use pallid witch flesh. Yeah, looking at this one, yeah, just another coat will just tidy up the canteens. So that's another, so I've got some rustling from the cat delving into one of my bags of bases. But there you go. So that is my Confederates. Again, the hat, you can see where I've just left the ring of shadow and painted that lighter colour back on it there. So yes, so as I get distracted from my Confederates, also go for a slightly different basing to the Union forces. You'll have noticed the Union base was a slightly darker colour I've used to paint the sand. This one I've used Montfang Air. I like using the air paints because it's a pre-mixed liquidy, not got more pigment in than the contrast paints, and the sand will soak them up. So like I say, hopefully this project will be done by the end of December, so expect to see some photos and videos about it being complete by then, and look forward to chatting to you about it in the future. So bye for now, goodbye.